Hey friends, I'm just really enjoying this episode with Catherine May on We Can Do Hard Things and wanted to share this thing that Catherine said about how she's less overwhelmed and more able to tell when she's overwhelmed, since understanding herself through the lens of her autism. And the questions she asked are, um, what oh, I've lost it. What are my needs? What was it? Let's just replay that. Hold on.
Hard work behind it, the real practice I have to keep returning to and reminding myself
Oh,
of is
I
I
get
get to meet my own needs.
I get to meet my own needs. And then the follow-up is what are my needs? Right? So many of us have been trained, especially those of us assigned female at birth, out of the idea that we even can meet our own needs. If there's no option to meet your own need, then I know what they are. Right? And that's why so many of us are detached from our physical selves, um, and our emotional selves. Because if there's no option to meet our own needs, then we don't need to get to know what our needs are. And we are trained from childhood, right? You're not hungry, you're not tired, you should be sleeping, you should eat this even though you don't like it. You should wear this. These clothes don't match, so don't wear that thing together that brought you so much joy, right? So what that does is it wears down the even concept that you have the right to meet your own needs. And if you don't have the right to meet your own needs, then it's worthless to know what they are. So that question of what are my needs has to come after you have explored and connected with the idea of I have a right to meet my own needs. And that is something that requires radical permission. I love that Adrienne Marie Brown and Sonia Renee Taylor are doing this Institute for Radical Permission or Radical Permission Institute. And I will link that in the description, because that's what it is, right? This radical permission to say, I have a right to meet my own needs. And what that does is that opens up options of what are those needs. And then we can start to explore how might those needs be met, right? So like something that I've noticed and that my evaluator said might happen, which is so funny that it did, um, is that I'm like stimming a lot more or doing like inappropriate physical behaviors in public more often and in these videos more often. So like you notice I just like took a moment to like really take care of my eyes. They are crusty from the cold, and then my eyes tear, and then the salt like crustifies around the edges of my eyes. So I keep coconut oil and Vaseline on them, and eye drops, and it's just like the whole thing is just tender right now. So I'm just like caring for it, closing my eyes more often. And I'm like doing videos where I'm like doing other things because it just feels like the like connecting with the camera thing is very taxing and I don't need to do that anymore. So I wouldn't have even been able to explain to you that that was a need before. I did actually because I had a traumatic experience with a professor in my grad school program who was like, your face needs to be videoed so that we can analyze what's wrong with your face, which was shocking. My autism evaluator had the exact same experience in grad school that a clinical supervisor was like, we need to video your face because your face is wrong and you need to like figure out how to fix your face. I have never heard anyone else have that experience. And I thought it was like the most egregious experience I've ever had. And this, this evaluator also had that experience while training to be a clinician. Shocking, just validating. Oh, so anyways, yes. So bringing in this idea, like I have the right to meet my own needs, that's a big first hurdle, right? That's a pretty profound, like pushes up against everything that we've been taught idea. And then that can lead to what even are my needs, right? And the question that I love for this is very simple. It's why. So in any given moment, Why am I holding my hands right here? Okay, it's because it's like a way to fidget while I'm talking. Why am I wearing these glasses? Why am I wearing this? Why am I wearing these headphones? Why am I making this video? Why am I eating this thing? And if the answer is because it's right or I should or it's gonna make me look better or whatever, then I get to be like, is that needed anymore? Right? And I get to start making choices rather than just following the rules, which will in and of itself lead to less overwhelm because when you're making choices, you're up in the front of your brain. When you're following rules, you're in the lower brain. And that is a defense state and feels shitty in your body because you're not accessing rest and digest. You're only doing that when you're up here. That's why flow state feels so good because in flow state, it's pure creativity. You're not following any rules. So asking these or bringing in this idea, like, do I have the right to meet my own needs, is something that I think is really, really valuable to spend time with and see what you really think about that. Do I have the right to meet my own needs? And that can open up the reality where you can start to say, what are my needs? And then eventually, how might I meet them? Okay, lots of love.